Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Thank you for joining me. Today we've got a full face of e.l.f. products. We've got some new e.l.f. launches that I wanted to try out and give you my thoughts and opinions on camera, kind of demo them for you, swatch them. But I also decided to pull some product that e.l.f. launched back in 2024, so this past year, some of their newer launches, incorporate them to do a full face of e.l.f. products. I wanted to also circle back and revisit some products that may not have worked out for me the first time, kind of give them a second chance and just see what my thoughts are, if it's changed my opinions, or if I can see myself using them, or if they're just complete duds. So we're going to get into those products. We're going to get into the new releases. I hope you will enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we start off with some of the other products, I wanted to revisit one of their new releases. As I mentioned before, I did some videos recently of some of their new launches, and these Holy Strokes eyebrow pens were part of that video. If you haven't seen that, I will link it for you down below, or maybe in the cards it'll pop up throughout this video so you can see my initial reaction to this product. Just wasn't that great, and I kind of wanted to revisit this product and give it another shot and do that on camera with you, because I do pay for everything that I show in these videos. So this is just sitting in my drawer, and I kind of want to see if this is still not as good as the first time, or if maybe my second go at it is going to give me a better result. I think I'm just going to go straight into this darker shade, which happens to be the neutral brown, and I'm going to just give it a good shake and try this again. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to fill them in with my normal go-to product, and then we'll move on to the other new launches. So I'm going to take this and try to use this as a fill-in product. Instead of spot filling in like areas that I have a bald spot, I'm going to use this to see if I can even fill this in. In that first video, what I said was that this formula is very sheer, very thin. So some people may like that. If you're like me and you need more to your brows, a little bit more of a substantial color that can be seen to create more structure, more shape, this isn't going to cut it. Now this is ultra thin to hold. The formula itself is quite sheer, and I'm not really getting much of anything coming off. And if I just kind of press really hard, look at this, nothing is coming off on my pen. Do you see? And I'm really like jabbing this into the back of my hand, and nothing really comes out. It's like barely a tint. So I just don't understand, you know, I don't get it. So this, I'm just not even gonna waste my time anymore. It's official. This Holy Strokes brow pen is just not good. I do have a couple of skin prep type things that I kind of wanted to try with you on camera. The first product is the e.l.f. Stay Cool Primer Stick. I had a subscriber ask me, how does this compare to another higher end? Those that are higher end were more marketed for under the eyes. This one is a little different because it's made to be used all over, under the eyes, on your face, and it's a cooling stick. I have not used this yet, so I kind of wanted to try this, and so I ordered it just so I can have a little bit more knowledge. In case someone else asks me about this, I want to be able to provide you that information, so I added that to my order. But some of the other skin prep products are these little mini sort of duos. The first product in that duo set is the Thirst Drops and the Bronzing Drops. Now, I do have the Bronzing Drops in a different shade. This one is in pure gold, and this is the Thirst Drops, a dewy and brightening sort of skincare type of product that is new to the skincare line at e.l.f. brand. So this is supposed to be very similar to a higher end product, and whether or not it's gonna work out, we'll see. But I do want to try this out. I have some swatches that I wanted to show you. The Thirst Drops has a slight pink tint to it, but it's not visible when it's on the skin. And then the Bronzing Drops in that pure gold, you can really see that gold tone as I'm showing you some swatches here. It is a lot more gold. The shade that I own in this in full size is Rose Gold, which has a bit of a rosiness to it, and I like mixing those in sometimes with a foundation if the foundation is just a little off. So I think what I'm going to do is try the Thirst Burst Drops. So it comes out, like I said, with a slight pink tint to it. I do have my skincare on that I've had on for a couple of hours, but I think I'm just going to put a little bit of this on and just kind of get a feel for it. I do think that this is very similar to that more famous high-end brand. So I feel like this is blending in really easily. It doesn't really change the way my face looks. I do feel like it gave me a bit of a hydration boost. And we all know that e.l.f. is supposed to be one of those brands that we can count on to create dupes for higher end products. And this is supposed to be a dupe for the Glow Recipe, the Watermelon Niacinamide Dewdrops. I'm pretty sure that's the full name, but it's by Glow Recipe. I do have one upstairs that I use from time to time, and I like how it gives my skin an extra drink of water and hydration, which this does feel very similar to that, but this kind of I don't know if it's the skincare that I have underneath, but it does feel just slightly a little sticky. So it could be this, or it could be mixing with my skincare. It's got 1% hibiscus complex and a 5% niacinamide added ingredient. So I do like that for brightening. I like niacinamide for overall brightening the complexion. So I do like that. I feel like I need to kind of play around with it first over my cleansed skin and then put my moisturizer on top to see if this is sticky on its own or if it's just because I put it on top of my moisturizer, which is from Prequel, by the way. And I think I'm going to be extra hydrated today by going in with this cooling stick, but I've got to try this. My curiosity has been piqued on this product. It's supposed to be cooling. If you have one of those like beauty fridges, you could put this in there. Have a nice little treat in the mornings to sort of get yourself ready, depuff. So it looks blue, but I know it's not going to be blue when I put it on. And yeah, this feels very cooling and almost kind of wet, but not cooling to where it feels like it's tingling or anything. It just feels cooling to the touch and that sensation of rubbing this stick against the skin, but it does feel quite nice. Not really much of a scent on this. You can go under the eyes. Ooh, that would be nice. Put it under the eyes to prep for concealer. I do have eye cream on, but I think a little bit extra won't hurt anybody. I'm going to go a little bit over here and blend this in my fingers. That's nice. That's really nice. Very soothing, very cooling, but it also feels nourishing on the skin as well. It's got a little bit of a thickness. It's not overly thick, but you can feel it on the skin, and it has a nice glide where it doesn't pull or tug at the skin. So I like this. I do think this is different from the high-end version. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that this is supposed to be similar to the Tula brand. I don't know if I mentioned the brand name when I was talking about comparing these two together, but Tula has a stick like this that's blue. They have a yellow kind of gold one and a pink one, which I've tried the pink one, but it's the Tula brand that it's supposed to be very similar to. I think the difference is that e.l.f. can be used all over the face, and the Tula ones are specifically marketed for just under the eyes. So it's a big difference there. I think, in my opinion, I wouldn't necessarily put something made for the eyes all over my face. I mean, you could, but I personally would leave just eye products to just the under eyes and then use something for the face on the face only. The next product I feel like is gonna undo all that extra hydration and moisture that we put into the skin. But because this is a video full of new products from e.l.f., I figured I'd try the Power Grip Matte Primer. This is a grippy primer in a matte version of what they already had existing in their line, what they're known for, those primers. I mentioned in my video of the #1 products from specific brands at the drugstore, and I did e.l.f. in one of those videos. I feel like they do primer really, really well. And it comes out in a slightly kind of milky type of texture and look to it. Do you see that? But it's kind of like one of those grippy ones, and it doesn't have, it feels kind of tacky, I would say. I was going to say not much of a tack, but here we go. So it looks like that. It comes out with a bit of a slight kind of cloudy tint, but oh yeah, it doesn't have any color when you put it on. Oh yeah, this is sticky. Do you see that? Whoa. And if you hear any noises in the background, my kids are upstairs playing around, and they are running around playing with all their Christmas toys. I'm gonna take a little bit more and go on my forehead here. So this, I feel like, is definitely going to be a nice kind of sticky primer. It does remind me of the feel of their Power Grip. Now that that's applied, I have that stickiness of that grippy aspect of the primer, but it doesn't feel completely matte, like it sucked everything out of my face, like super mattifying. And it could be because I have all of these other skincare based products underneath. Most likely someone using this will probably have some sort of skincare on underneath. You don't want to put this on bare skin, just because I could probably see that being a little bit drying since it's a mattifying product. So I want to try this with the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation. I have 2 different shades here. I'm just going to pick one shade that I feel like I could make work, that could match me best. And I think that may be 21 Light Neutral. I have the other shade, which is 15 Fair Warm. I could never really get myself a good match in any e.l.f. complexion based products. So I always end up ordering several shades to figure out my tone, and then I end up mixing them. So I may have to do that, but I'm going to start with the 21 Light Neutral. This foundation is beautiful on the skin, but at the end of the day, it does make me look a little bit more dewy than I personally prefer. So I feel like pairing this with this Power Grip may be a good idea. So let's go ahead and just blend this in. And I think I'm going to use a sponge. I'm just going to put it on my sponge and blend and apply this right over that Power Grip primer. Up next is the Halo Glow Filter Pressed Powder. This again is one of their really new hot off the press launches. And this is supposed to be a pressed powder that's a finishing powder for a soft focused glow based off of their website. This comes in 12 shades. It also retails for $14 and I ordered the shade Light Neutral. When I was looking at the shade ranges, it was really hard for me to decide which color would be the best match. The fair tones just had a little too pink to it. And if I'm going to use this all over the face, I would prefer something more neutral or something a little bit more on the yellow base side. I don't put anything cool tone on my face as far as powders, foundations, or concealers, just because it has a bit of a pink cool tone. And I do have some natural rosiness in the cheeks, so if you put something cool tone on top of that, I feel like it just sort of makes it more apparent. So I always go with something neutral to neutralize things, or a little bit more on the golden yellow side to help cancel that out. So that's why I went with the shade Light Neutral. Another part of this product is that you can lift up the actual base of the product, and underneath you have a mirror and a little powder puff. Now I feel like a powder puff probably would apply just a little bit more product than what I want. So I'm just going to use a brush method to pick up a little bit of this and just use this to kind of set the Soft Glam foundation. I did apply a little bit of concealer and I used my Infallible Concealer from L'Oreal in the shade 330 Ivory to help kind of brighten and balance out the foundation, since this shade 21 Light Neutral was a little bit dark. So I feel like using that under the eyes and through the center of the face helped out quite a bit. But I'm using this powder now to sort of set that foundation, and I feel like it's giving me a really pretty sort of satiny kind of glow. It's not overly shimmery and dewy. When I swatch the product itself, it just feels really creamy, soft to the touch, and when you apply quite a bit on the back of your hand, you may be able to see that it just gives the skin the prettiest subtle kind of glow. And I feel like this is a nice powder for anyone who likes to use powder but doesn't want something that looks heavy and too powdery. This is a very nice sort of thin powder that has a touch of coverage. I wouldn't say this is something that I would use as my main foundation, but using it in conjunction with a foundation, a skin tint, a tinted SPF, I think you will see that really pretty kind of glow. And it looks like a nice glow from within, like my skin is just healthy. And I do like this. And I feel like this shade is doable, maybe because the brush is quite fluffy. And I think I might have a different result with this shade if I use something a little bit more dense. I think it'll pick up a lot more product and push that into the skin. So I think for me, I'm just gonna stick with this fluffy brush, just kind of picking this up and just kind of pressing right over everything. But I do like this powder. I think they did a nice job. And I think I'm gonna use the same powder to set my concealer, since I have not done that, just to kind of see what would happen. And I'm gonna use a BK Beauty and Nikki LaRose N14 brush that looks like that. It's a perfect brush for using setting powder. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that. And I'm just going to press this right over my concealer. So looking at my under eye area, I do feel like this powder definitely set my under eye area without it looking heavy. It doesn't look cakey. It actually does not look powdery whatsoever. It looks honestly just like skin. It doesn't even look like there's much of anything applied there. I think this is a really nice powder to touch up, to set. I'm going to take a little bit over the brow bone as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and do some additional steps in my routine before we go into the next launch. So I think for bronzer, I'm going to try using the new Camo Liquid Bronzer in the shade Light, and I'm going to go right over my face that's been set. I love this formula. I've tried this before. I do have the contour shade, which I use from time to time, but I do really like this formula for the bronzer. And if you have not tried the Camo Liquid Blushes, those are incredibly beautiful. So I'm going to do this really quickly and then we'll move on to the next steps. Look at how easily this bronzer just blended right in, right over the set face with the powder. I just love this formula. I think they did an incredible job with these. If you have not tried them, I'm going to link it for you, as I do with everything else, for you to try out. They are just a solid option. They are pigmented, but they're approachable. They're easy to use, easy to work with. I'm not a professional by any means, nowhere close, and I can make that work. So if I can do it, you can do it as well, and it looks just stunning. I love that formula. And this is the base complexion for the day. Of course, I still need to do some highlighter and some blush, but I wanted just to kind of do a little bit of a recap with you. I'm really liking how this is looking. This is looking radiant, it's dewy, it's fresh, but it doesn't feel greasy. It doesn't feel like I have too much on my skin. I don't feel smothered. I don't feel like it's overly sticky or tacky. I feel like that powder did a nice job at setting the foundation. That foundation blended beautifully over the matte grippy primer. So far everything is looking really nice. I do want to shout out the brand for sending me a free gift. This is the Power Grip Dewy Setting Spray. This was sent, I think they just randomly chose Icon members, which is their beauty rewards program, and they sent out some free gifts, and this was something I received out of the blue during the holidays. I have yet to try this. I don't know if I will today because it's a dewy setting spray, and I kind of want to just see how these products that I just applied are going to mesh together. But I want to revisit this, and I want to shout out the brand. That was really kind of them to send that out to Icon members. If you received one, have you used it? What did you get? Are they all the same? Or did they just randomly select a gift and a random customer? I don't know, but that was really nice, and I do appreciate it as a nice unexpected gift from them for the holidays. So stay tuned. You'll see this in a different video, but that looks really cool. It kind of looks like it's two different liquids that you have to kind of shake up and maybe get like a nice dewy complexion. I don't know how dewy this is, but it's a shockingly fine mist, major makeup grip. I'm intrigued by this. We definitely will use this maybe in the next video. I will bust that out and use that, but big thanks to e.l.f. for sending me that setting spray. We'll circle back to blush and the final touches to pull everything together, but we're going to go into the eye look for the day. I've prepped my lids with the e.l.f. Lock It Down Primer. This is, again, one of their new launches from last year. This is a so-so primer. I don't feel like it's the absolute best, but it's the most decent one for me personally at the drugstore. I've tried the one from Milani, and it just never really works at preventing creasing, and this one I feel like does a better job. So I just use my finger to apply that, and I feel like it's set and ready to go. And we're going to be using a new eyeshadow palette from e.l.f. They have these 10-pan palettes, which, believe it or not, I've never used one of their 10-pan palettes before. This is one of their newer additions to that range of palettes, and it's the Keep It Ethereal. So do you see those colors? Just very everyday, right up my alley. So me, I would use these shades every single day and create endless amount of looks. I like the options, the tones from light to dark. I like the fact that you get 4 shades that have visible shimmer to them, and then you have several shades that give you those matte tones. So these first 2 here on the lighter end, then you have these 2 sort of mid-tone shades, and then these 2 that give you a little bit of a deeper option. And I like that. I think this would be a nice everyday palette. Now, I don't know what the quality is like. I do like the e.l.f. bite-sized quads. I think those are great for the price point. They can't be beat. Their new Finest Fleck glitter shadows, those are singles. Those are incredible. I love those. I use them almost all the time. And I'm trying to do some swatches here, and I'm just rubbing my finger back and forth in those shimmer pans to show you what those colors look like. And those are the shimmers. So you have some lighter shades, kind of like a shimmer champagne and like a bit of a taupey type of shade with a little bit more depth, and then these 2 are the darker 2. This one pulls a little bit of a kind of olivey, unexpected undertone, this one here, which is really nice. And then there's that bronzy shade, which you guys know, if you've watched my videos, you know how much I love a good bronze. And that looks really pretty. And let's do a swatch here. Okay, so it's not bad. Let me redo that bronzy shade. I feel like it didn't come off my pinky very well. So there is a look at some of those. That's pretty. I like the way that looks. And I think that the best way to apply these is going to be definitely with the finger, because you don't really get that much on your finger when you rub your finger in there. I feel like you need to really get in there. But again, we're keeping in mind that $10 price point. Let me redo some of these swatches. You can't really complain because it comes out to just really inexpensive per shadow. I mean, come on, can I really complain about this? And I'm pretty sure this was 10 bucks for this entire palette, so that's $1 a shadow. Like, seriously, we can't really complain and knock it too much. I just hope that they blend well. That's my biggest thing. If it's not as pigmented, I can make it work. So let's go ahead and swatch some of these matte tones. And these matte shades, okay, these feel buttery and they feel very, very soft. Whoa, okay, so those are the lighter shades. Do you see that? Buttery, smooth, creamy. They feel a lot more high-end. So I feel like the mattes are probably going to be my favorite out of the bunch. And let me just show you my wrist there. You can see at a distance, not the best. I don't do swatches very well, but you can kind of see a little bit. The color and pigmentation is there, and they feel ultra smooth. I do like that. And let's do those darker shades, the last two, which are the brown tones. That's what those brown tones look like. And let me see if I can do a swatch here. Do you see? They do have some pigment to them. And they do feel, again, very, very soft, just like the lighter shades. So I'm excited. I think I need to get my brushes going, and we're going to just create a look with this today. I don't know the direction. I think I'm just going to go with whatever feels right to me today. So let's go ahead and create an eye look. I'm going to go in first with this light shade here, which is a light kind of buttercream yellow. It is a matte color. I've already done this side, and I'm using this shade to set the Lock It Down primer so that I have a better blend. From here, I think I want to start building my transition, and I think I want to try that kind of cool tone shade here. This third shade in the palette looks like that. It's a little bit on the cooler side, but I'm going to mix a couple shades and just see where the look ends up. And there is a little bit of a powdery kick up, but again, we're talking about this one shade. It's literally $1 per shade. So you can't really complain too much about the fallout. Let's see how well this is blending. Let me grab my mirror. I mean, it's light, but it's blending. It looks really nice, soft. It looks smooth. Do the same thing on this other side. Next up, I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is a matte. It's right in the very center of the palette and has a little bit of a kind of soft undertone of pink to it. It's very light and muted. It's also a matte finish, so I feel like it's going to blend really nicely. And I'm, again, using that same 212 brush, and I'm just going to go right over that lighter cool tone gray and just kind of mix those shades together. And that's going to add just a hint more warmth and bring back a little bit more of a warm tone to the eye. This is the eye with just that cool tone in the crease. And then here we have it with just a little bit more of that kind of pinky base to it. I'm rocking that color back and forth with same brush just to add a little bit more warmth to my look. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just going back and forth, same brush with that light kind of muted pink shade. I'm going to switch brushes, and I'm going to pick up the A502 brush from the Angie Hot and Flashy BK Beauty collab. So it's a little bit of a kind of more tapered, a little bit thinner of a crease brush. The one that I was using is the 212, and I'll show you a comparison of the two. This is the 212 here. It's a little bit bigger, fluffier, and now moving down to this brush, which is a little bit thinner, because I'm going to go in with some of the deeper shades. And I think I want to just try going straight into this really dark color here. This is the darkest shade in the palette with that brush, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that, tapping off the excess, and I'm going to pat this right on this outer part of my eye. Grab my mirror, and I'm going to look down into my mirror and just kind of pat this shade on this outer V area. And then I'm going to go back into that 212 with nothing on it, and I'm going to blend the edge of that just a bit more. I'm adding a little bit more of that dark brown just to intensify the color here. And I'm just kind of patting ever so slightly. Just kind of pat, pat, pat. You could use something smaller like a BK Beauty 207. It's a little bit of a wider pencil style brush. I'm going to use that and kind of blend this out a little bit. I'm not worried about this line that you see here. I'm going to cover that with a shimmer, but I just kind of want to work on this blend right out here. I'm going to take this shade here, which is a little bit more of a warm brown. It's a couple shades lighter than what I just used, which is this one here in the outer V. I'm going to take that shade and run that on my lower lashes. I think I want to add a little bit more depth and darkness on the lower lashes. So I'm going to take that same shade that I used on this outer V. I'm going to use that same brush from BK Beauty, that 207, and I'm going to apply some of that right over that warm brown shade. And I'm going to go from the outer corner and work my way about halfway. Not really going all the way in because I want to put a highlighter there, but I want to kind of add a little bit of smokiness. I'm just going to go basically about halfway and then making sure that it connects out. So it's a little bit more of a seamless from outer V down to the lower lashes. Do the same thing on this other side. Now time to add a little bit of shimmer and sparkle to my lid. So I'm going to go into this shade right here. It seems to be a little bit of a kind of taupey type of shade with a little bit of champagne, but a little hint of gray. It's kind of pulling a little bit of a slight kind of coolness to it. If you wanted something a little bit smokier, you can go with some of those darker shades, or you can go with this one that has a little bit more of a kind of champagne shade. I think I may use this with a little hint of gold for a brow highlight, but I think I'm going to go with this shade on my lids, and I'm just going to use my ring finger to apply it. That looks really pretty. This one does have a little hint of sparkle to it, but it's not overly chunky, big pieces of glitter, but there is something to it that I feel like makes it look really, really pretty, kind of icy. So I'm gonna just pat that inner corner all the way over, and I'm gonna overlap that dark color right there. And I'm just gonna layer this because this one doesn't have a ton of pigment when you swatch it. So when you layer it, you can really see that color show up, and it's actually really pretty. I actually like the way that looks. So here's a look at that color. I think it looks really pretty. There's a little bit of sparkle. It kind of dazzles when the light hits. I think it looks so nice. It definitely took a little bit of building. So I think that the shimmers in this palette will need a little bit more patience, especially these lighter ones. I feel like this bronzy shade is quite dark and has some depth right off the bat, but these lighter shades, I can see them needing to be built up just a little bit. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something to note that you have to have a little bit of patience when you're kind of working with those shades. So I think I want to use a small brush. Let me try to find one. This is a 203 brush from BK Beauty. And I think I want to take a little bit of this shade here, ever so slightly, tapping off the excess, and I want to use this just to kind of, whoa, that's, okay. That had a little bit more sparkle than I expected. Not what I want for my brow bone. Now I feel like I have to do the same on this side just to even things out, but okay. Something about putting my brush into that lighter shade just kind of brought out the glitter. I don't know if you can see that, but okay. That is not what I wanted. Let me try to use my finger, oopsies, to tone that down. I feel like it's just too much glitter. Let's try to cover that up with a little bit of this matte color. And let's switch brushes and make sure it has no glitter on it. And this is an A501. I'm gonna go into that matte shade. Let's see, can I cover this up a little bit and tone this down? Not really. Okay, great. Not what I wanted. Not a fan of how that looks, but I can't knock the palette. That was my fault. I should have not done that, but we are here to play. We're just gonna leave it. I think the last thing to do is a little bit of liner and some mascara. I decided to use that same dark brown eyeshadow that I have in my crease and lower lashes to use as a liner. And I'm gonna use a 204 brush. And what I did was I just kind of stamped this really close to the root of my lash. I did tightline with a black eyeliner pencil. And I'm just gonna stamp this really close to the root of my lash. Final thing to pull everything together is a little bit of mascara. And with this order, one of the gift with purchases was the Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara. And I don't think I've ever tried this. I was also sent the Holy Hydration Eye Cream. I guess that was a free gift. I don't remember if I chose that myself or if they selected that for me. And the same with the mascara. So I'm gonna just try this mascara out. This is what the wand looks like. It's a, you know, rather large kind of rubbery wand with shorter bristles. So hopefully it does volumize my lashes. And I'm just gonna apply 2 coats of this to my top lashes and a coat to my bottom lashes as well. Circling back to blush, remember earlier how I said the Camo Liquid Blushes are really great formulas? And I was kind of debating which shade. These are some of their newer shades, but I think the shade Suave Mauve is calling my name. I feel like it definitely will pull in really nicely with those kind of earthy tones in the eye look. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this. You only need the tiniest little dot, and that is sufficient to do the entire cheek. I'm gonna take the e.l.f. Dual Complexion Brush, same one that I used for my bronzer, and I'm just going to pat in a circular motion. And this is a nice pigmented but buildable formula. I would say, if I can talk, start off with a small amount and then just build up from there, because these do have a lot of pigment. And that gives just a pretty soft flush of color where it's something that's visible, but it doesn't take away from the eye look, doesn't detract from the other makeup products that I'm wearing. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna do a tiny little bit and blend this in. Let's quickly do a lip combo to pull all this together. I'm gonna take the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in the shade Pinky Swear. I'm gonna line my lips and fill them in a little bit. And over top of that, I'm gonna take the Satin Lipstick in Dirty Talk. And that's that Dirty Talk over the Pinky Swear lip liner. I love this satin formula for lipsticks. They're so creamy. They feel so expensive. They're only just a few bucks. Of course, as with all e.l.f. products, they're super affordable. But this formulation feels a lot more expensive. and definitely much more of an improvement at the drugstore. I think those are really great. And then some of the newer lip oils from e.l.f. also come with a little bit of sheen and sparkle. And my favorite shade is the shade Candy Coated, but today I think I'm gonna go in with my second favorite, which is called Princess Cut. And I love this formula. It's elite. It's the best at the drugstore. Nothing compares to this lip oil formula. And look at that. Look at the shine. And it feels so good on the lips. Has that kind of minty smell, a slight cooling sensation that is actually very pleasant. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. The shine, the glow. You need these. And here's the end result with using all of the latest launches from e.l.f. What do you think? I've got to say I'm pretty impressed with the majority of the products. I do think that they did a great job. Normally e.l.f. does some great launches and their products are really great for the price point. You get some really great formulas. So I'm really thrilled with the end result and how everything is looking. I think the only thing that I'm just not a fan of is the Holy Strokes brow pen. I've given it a second chance today and it's not working for me. I don't understand how this was even possible to launch something like this, because unless mine are just happen to be the only ones like this, I don't know. If you've tried them and you've had a better result, please let me know. I'm kind of curious about that, but I just feel like this was just not a very good launch. This was a fail, a big time fail. But I do like how this primer, since it's new, it's actually working to grip the makeup on, and it looks like it's gonna work and mattify my skin. Considering that I have some definite hydration going on underneath, I feel like it looks pretty good. I have a nice soft glow, and I think that satin foundation is a really nice option, and I think this is my favorite foundation from e.l.f. And I've mentioned before how I just can't seem to get along with e.l.f. foundations, and I've had a better result with this new version of the Soft Glam Satin Foundation. The Halo Powder gives a pretty kind of glow to the skin, very healthy, a very nice radiance to the skin without looking shimmery, glittery, or like a disco ball. So I definitely can see myself using this. I do wish that the shades were just a little bit better. I think 12 shades is maybe not essentially enough, being that there's a need for more cool and neutral and warm within each color family. I just felt like there wasn't enough neutrals in the fair tones for me to decide, so I had to go to light, and I feel like I'm more on the fair side versus light. So if you can find a shade and you're looking for something that has a very subtle, slight glow to it to kind of set but not look powdery, I think you will really love this powder, and I would definitely use that again. And let's talk about this eyeshadow palette. I'm actually impressed. It's a $10 palette, and it gave me this look here today. Nice sparkly look. You can see the colors in the crease. They blend it out very well. No issues there. Some of them may be slightly lacking in pigmentation, but again, I go back to that. It's $1 per shadow, so you really can't complain. And of course, that fallout and that kickback, again, something that you really can't complain about for this price point. And I do like these colors. So if you like something that's just easy to work with, easy for every day, you may actually be able to enjoy this palette and get a lot of looks out of it. I do think that the mattes are better performing than the shimmers. I think the mattes are soft, creamy, something very different than what I expected from e.l.f. And I feel like the mattes in this palette are just a little bit more elevated in that soft kind of creamy feel to their quads. Although their quads, I love them. They have a special place in my heart. I will always love those. But I do like the mattes in these just a hint more. And let's not forget about the Camo Liquid Bronzers and the new blush shades that have been added. So they expanded the blushes. Those are actually really good. If you have not tried the Camo Liquid Blushes or Bronzers, I do recommend that you try them out. I think that they have a nice range of colors in their blushes, and they also have a nice range of warm tones and cool tones in the bronzer formulation, a nice range for fair tones to the deepest skin tones. And then of course the lip products. I love these lip products. These are my favorite. I absolutely adore their lip oil formula, and for them to come out with some sparkly kind of shimmery shades very recently, it was just like the cherry on the sundae. I feel like their line kind of needed something a little bit sparkly, and they definitely gave it to us in that perfect lip oil formula. Love the lipstick, the lip liners. I can't get enough of those. And of course that mascara, we talked about that during the tutorial portion for the eyes. That's a really great tubing formula from the drugstore. And that is it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for being here. I hope you found these reviews helpful and seeing these products being applied and getting my overall thoughts and just kind of my opinions on these products. You will see some of these again in future videos. Let me know your thoughts on these products if you've tried them out. I would love to know how your experience went with them. Don't forget to subscribe. I post every Tuesday and every Friday. I do have plans to do more product launches. Lots of new drugstore products coming your way, so subscribe so you don't miss out. Hit that notification bell, and you can also follow me on Instagram. My username pops up here on the screen. I hope to connect with you there. Take care, you guys, and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.